Hey everyone, back with another video tonight. Tonight, we have a recurring guest who a lot of you had liked. Now, I haven't had him on, and I've had in a while, and I've had a lot of new subscribers. So I'm going to have him introduce himself and what he does, and then he's going to present something that's just going to blow your mind. So this is the 1111 Matrix code. So I'm going to bring him on. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. So real quick, before we bring on the screen and I maximize it, give everyone a little overview of how this all started and how you got to where you are, if you had to sum it up in a couple minutes.
Okay. So just very quickly, way back in, I want to say it was 2009, I started waking up at 3:33 in the morning. When this first started happening, I didn't think about it until it started happening every single night. And it happened every single night from January until November. I know it sounds fascinating. I know it sounds made up, but it's the absolute truth. Every single night I wake up at that time. I did everything I could to make sure that there wasn't something in the house that was waking me up. I could find nothing that was going on at that time of the night that was waking me up. I just would wake up, look at the clock, 3:33. So fast forward a few years. After I married my husband, I legally changed the name to his last name, which is King. And within just a matter of days of doing that, the whole thing started over again. But this particular time, I went to bed one night and was doing some reading for about 15 minutes or so, put my Kindle away, closed my eyes. My eyes were only closed for less than 30 seconds. I mean, it couldn't even been a minute before I'm just suddenly presented with this blinding white light hurting my eyes, but it was like it was shining through my eyelids. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, that's weird. Like, what is that? I didn't open my eyes. Like, you would have thought, like, I would have opened my eyes to see what it was. But instead of doing that, I tried to rationalize where this light was coming from. And I went through all the different things I thought it could be before I, finally decided to open my eyes. And when I did, the room was
so it definitely wasn't like a car and its headlights in your bedroom, right?
No. We lived in a townhouse and our bedroom was on the second floor. So unless that car was flying, right, there's no way their lights could shine through the window.
Okay, fair enough.
So, but I looked over at the clock and it was 11:11. Again, didn't think anything about it. So next day I was talking to a coworker, telling her, about this whole situation. She said it felt like to her, like someone was trying to come visit me. We talked for a little bit. I went back to my computer, sat down, did some work. A couple hours passed, getting hungry. I looked at the time and it was 11:11 again. And I had a brief thought in my head that I hope this shit isn't staying all over. Couldn't have been more wrong. From that moment forward, I started seeing 11:11 all over the place. It was to the point that I could no longer ignore it. I had to start researching and trying to figure out what it meant. And there's tons of websites that, want to give you an explanation, but none felt real to me. They were all similar, but some of them were different. So the more I started doing the research, the more I started finding connections within myself. So after, like I said, I got married, changed my name to King. My name literally became 11 letters long. And my first name ends in K, last begins with K. K is the 11th letter of the alphabet. So encoded right in my name is the number 1111. Not to mention that I was born on September 2nd. 9 and 2 is 11. September 2nd is the 245th day of the year. 2 plus 4 plus 5 is 11. I mean, it just keeps going. Our addresses, all the numbers in our address would, you would total those up. The end number you would reduce down. It would be 11. Just
so explain to people real quick. Well, when we talk in numbers real quick, I know people are probably right away going to be like, you're making a lot of wild connections or this, that. And guys, listen, just trust me. This is the 5th time I've had him on. If you want, watch the first 4 if you want to get caught up to speed. But I haven't had him on in a while, so a lot of people actually used to like this. When you're talking about reducing numbers, can you explain that? We'll go 1 through 11 basically, because that's basically it.
Yeah. So when you're reducing a number down, let's say that you have a number that's, 2, 4, 5. So you would add 2 plus 4 plus 5 is 11. Well, 11 is a master number. So technically you wouldn't reduce that down. But let's just say that in this case, we would reduce it down. So by reducing it down, you would simply take 1 plus 1. And so it would reduce to 2.
So it's the root number of everything, right?
It's the root number, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
So anyway, continue with your story.
So yeah, so like I was saying, this just, I mean, it was happening so much. Everywhere I would look at the clock and it would be 11:11. And I know that, people can say that you can train yourself subconsciously to just happen to look at the time every time, like the same time every day. But it wasn't like that. I would be driving down the highway. A truck would pass me and it would have 11:11 on it. Now it might be in the middle of this big string of numbers, but right center of 11:11, and it would just stand out to me like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just all these different ways I would go and purchase something. It would be, well, here's a great example. I ordered a book from Amazon one time, and the shipping was $11.11. Now, when have you ever heard of a shipping amount being that? It's usually $8.99, $9.99. It usually ends in a 99, never $11.11. So, what was it in 2021? I think it was in June of that year. I had this day where I was just seeing 11:11 like 3, 4, 5 times all in one day. And I thought, man, what is going on? And it's just these I don't even know how to describe it. I wasn't hearing voices, but thoughts started popping into my head of, is there a connection between 11:11 and 333? And this random thought popped in my head that basically told me to multiply those two numbers together. So I did. The resulting number is 369,963. That number stood out to me because of Nikola Tesla. He's pretty famous for the quote, if you only understood the magnificence of the 369, you would hold a key to the universe. So that number stood out to me. It also stood out to me because it was a palindrome. It's the same forwards and backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So another thought popped into my head, and that was now add 11:11 to that number. I did. The first number generated is 371074. Another thought popped into my head. It's now add 369,963 to that number and every new number that you get. So I did. And I kind of went haywire with this. I took it all the way up into the 100 billions just to see what would happen. But doing this, it was a process. It didn't just happen all at once, but I began to realize that, and I'll just use the first number as an example. So the first number that was generated is 371074. Through this whole thing, I learned that if the last 4 numbers and added the remaining, each one of those numbers would come back to 1111 every single time. This whole thing just started unraveling this code that seems to be predicting some sort of event coming up in the year 2058. It has a lot of tie-ins. Your work has many, many tie-ins and connections with what appears to be the Bible. I mean, there's just so many connections. Like you said, people would really have to go back and watch the first 4 videos to really understand everything.
Okay, so that's a basic up to where it is right now. Guys, you have to watch the first few videos to really get where we are. But for those people who have, because there are some, let's continue. So let me add this to the stream real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to have to open it up. Let me open it up. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. All right, so this stuff is crazy. So go on, start wherever you want to start off at.
Okay. So what my research led me to, and a lot of this was because I was watching a video about the Torah codes, the Bible codes, and they were talking about equal distant letter sequencing. So I wanted to apply that
Right,
to the
there's a book,
numbers.
Bible Code, that was written by Michael Drosnin, and has to do with Eliyahu Rips's code. They used a computer to prove equidistant lettering to form words, synchronistic patterns. Like you would have September 11th, and then like near it, it would say George Bush, and then near it would say Twin Towers. It's really crazy. The book is called Bible Code. If you guys want to get it, I think there's 2 or 3. But anyway, go on.
Yep, there's 3 books, and he has recently passed away, unfortunately. Because I actually took one of the codes that he found and I have expanded upon it,
Okay.
which is one of the things I want to show you tonight. Very bizarre. But using the ELS, the equidistant letter sequences, I applied it to the numbers. So I call it ENS, equidistant number sequence. And again, all of this stuff began to unravel, which I've already showed you and is in those videos that we've done in the past. But I decided to move forward and start looking into the Bible code. I found myself. I can show you here on the screen. And within the Bible itself, it seems to have predicted that I was chosen to reveal the 333 and 1111 code.
Right.
In red, going down, is my first name, Garrick.
Mm-hmm.
King is going diagonal here in green.
And for those of you guys, I can read Hebrew. I can tell you that this is correct. It's a kuf, that's a yud, that's a nun, that's a gimel. K, na, g. So I can do that if you guys want me to, or if you want. Do you think it'll help if I were to read them? Because I can guarantee I know enough that I could read this and I could follow the patterns of the letters. So if you want me to point any out specifically, let me know, Garrick. Okay.
Okay. So we have my name, full name, Garrick and King, the word chosen over here to the right diagonal. The word reveals is, I want to say it's right here, kind of this purple color. The number 333 shows up here in pink. Now, it's what people have to understand is that each Hebrew letter has a value. That's where Gematria comes from,
Yes.
is the value of each letter.
It's called Gematria. Everybody that knows what Gematria is, yes, it is Gematria.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then the number 1111 appeared in the word code. Now, what's interesting is when I did this, I put an ELS skip of minus 1111 to 1111, and it found all this information.
Jeez. Now, is this the computer program that I told you to get?
This I've actually purchased 1, 2.
Because I've been on your case about getting a program, and I know that you.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I've purchased like 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Because trying to find the one that I liked the best, that was easiest to work with. Finder Millennium Edition is the one that I use predominantly. Though I have recently moved over to using Key to the Bible or Keys of the Bible, just for this one particular process, which I'm going to show you here in just a little bit. So it was interesting that I found my name and that it literally predicted 2,000, 3,000 years ago in the Bible that I was going to do.
This is not that you found your name, because you should be able to find your name. What's impressive is, like I was explaining to you guys about the book, the Bible Code. Notice how close all this shit is together. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean this is not even this is probably like 1 or 2 chapters of a book in the Bible at most. I mean, at least at most, I should say.
Well, yeah, considering the fact that the ELS skip is a minus 1111, so I'm not showing all 1,111 letters on the screen, but you have to understand that between this letter here,
right,
going this way, and it wraps around before it gets to this letter here.
Right. Everybody remember, Hebrew goes from right to left, not left to right.
Correct. So it's literally going and skipping across 1,111 letters before it gets to the next letter. And that would be the case for
So this isn't basically a complete thing, is what you're saying. This isn't a complete.
Well, it is complete,
say from
but
the
it's
Kuf to the Yud, from the K to the I, right? That's 1111.
Yeah, 1111 is running right down here along the bottom.
Uh-huh.
So actually, no, let me back up. Yeah, there technically isn't 1,111 letters, or between each one. That's the skip that I used. It found all of this information within a confined portion of that.
Gotcha. Okay, good. I want to clarify everything because people have to follow this. And if people are new to this, you have to see how the codes you can find, man. This book is incredible. Go on.
Yeah, this software is amazing. So what I want to show you is, let me see here. So I did another one, and this was then just a short little area here.
Yeah, zoom it in a little harder, please, or a little more. I don't know why I said that. There we go. No, too much. Okay. There we go.
So this section right here in red, it said be transcribed. So that's going down vertically.
Right.
The green portion says will emerge from, and then the name Jesus Christ. And then we have the words of Jehovah, the word fire, and the year 2058. So when you read it in this order, it says to be transcribed. Well, actually, you should read the order which appears on the screen. So it should be to be transcribed. Let's see. Fire of Jehovah will emerge, Jesus Christ, in 2058. Now, what's interesting is the skip between each letter. So for to be transcribed, the skip was 30 letters. So there's 30 separate letters before it wraps around to the next letter.
Right.
And then will emerge from had 31. Jesus Christ had 31. Of Jehovah, 31. Fire had 30. And out of nowhere, 2058 had 92. But they all appear within a matrix that is exactly 11 by 11.
It's crazy. It's
now adding wild. Yeah. Now here's something else interesting. So adding the values of the skip, all of the values equals 245.
Right.
Well, 245, the 245th day of the year, is my birthday, September 2nd. And again, those numbers, 2 plus 4 plus 5 is 11. Now, the odds of this happening is one chance in, good God, I don't even know. This is one chance in this number here. It's huge. So the number is 19550090005.51.
Basically 1 in 2 billion.
Exactly. So technically, it shouldn't even be possible, but it's there.
So again, we're not, people who are listening, we're not talking about finding individual words and putting them together. This is an 11 by 11 box in the scripture that this comes in at. So
correct.
Realize that it's all so closely knit together.
Well, the other important thing to note here is that everything that you're seeing within this 11 by 11 matrix is appearing vertically or diagonally. It's not horizontal. So therefore, it does not appear naturally in the Bible. It's not part of the natural text.
Correct. Because if it was horizontally, that would just be reading from right to left. That would just be a word.
Yeah, you'd be like, well, that word already existed. Like, no big deal.
You know, Garrick, I don't know if I ever told you this, but Kabbalah kind of teaches this. Really mystic Kabbalah, not just surface level Kabbalah. But what you learn is that the Torah and the Bible in Hebrew, it was never meant to be at its most mystical, I should say. It's not broken down into sections like this, like 11 lines and then down, 11 lines and then down. It doesn't do that. The Bible was originally one strand of letters, endless. The only way you could see something that large is if you fold it into paperwork. And it should be, all intents and purposes, read from the beginning, from the first letter, Bereshit, the B, all the way to the end in one long strand. So if we could somehow get that, then that would be what we could work off of. Now suddenly everything is on the table. But the fact that when you do break this down into how it's been broken down, again, you have a box 11 by 11 and all these keywords.
Yep.
With equidistant numbering. So it's not like you're getting a letter and then 10 letters later you're getting another letter and then 4 letters later you're getting another one. These are equidistant.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly correct. Now, this is one that I really have been kind of anxious to show you. This, so I've been reading Michael Drosnin's books, obviously.
Yeah. Good.
And I found one where he found a code in the Bible where it talks about our DNA and that it was brought here in a vehicle.
Right.
So I literally found the exact same area that Michael Drosnin found. But I wanted to expand upon it. I wanted to see what else was around it. Like, what else does it say? I mean, okay, our DNA was brought in a vehicle. Okay, but what does that mean exactly?
Right.
So let me go ahead. I'm going to hit play and kind of do this presentation just very quickly. But before I do, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you know of Asherah?
Asheroth?
Asherah.
Oh, Asherah. No, not much.
Not much? Okay. It's believed by, and I have his name up here. I can't remember it right off the top of my head. I'll have to look at it when I end this. But there is a man who believes that Asherah was also worshipped alongside God in Israel, and he believes that Asherah was God's wife. Now, that being
I
said,
have heard of that. I just didn't recognize the name. Correct.
yeah.
And in fact, this god had children, had grandchildren. I was just talking to someone about this. Who the fuck was I just talking to? Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I just didn't recognize the name. I know this whole story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this will blow your mind. So let's go ahead and go through this really quickly. So this is a new matrix that I found, and this is built off of the one that Michael Drosnin did. Now, keep in mind the phrases that he found was DNA in a vehicle.
Right.
Everything else that you're seeing on here is what I found.
Do me a favor, just let everybody know the time frame that Michael Drosnin's book came out. I feel like it was like 10, 15 years ago, right? Do you have it with you?
Yeah, hang on one second.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you get up.
Oh, no, you're good. Oh. I was painting all weekend, and
this is what I'm talking about, people. I'm telling you, is that the key and the absolute cure, the cure to depression and anxiety is creation. It's to create. Okay, so Garrick does his paintings, he does his decodings. I've got my books, I got my videos. Guys, create things. Make new things. Even if you're not good at it, you'll get better. Just put in Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours. None of us are any different than any of you. None of us are different. We are all the same. We all have a learning curve, and we all can become masters at whatever the fuck we want to become masters at. You just have to put in the work. And it will cure your depression. It gives you purpose. It gives you life. It gives you reason and meaning. So anyway, so when do we have the first Bible code book? When was it published?
So the first book, copyright 1997.
Okay, so imagine that, guys. That's right around the time the computers came out.
Yeah.
And imagine the kind of computer program they were using at the time to find what they did. Get these books, guys. They're cheap. Get them on Amazon. Get them. It's called the Bible Code. It's 1 through 3. It's exactly what Garrick is doing, only with a a 1997 computer. You know,
Yeah.
almost 30 years later, right? Almost 30 years later, look what you're doing. So anyway, go on.
Well, there's a documentary on YouTube that you can find with Michael Drosnin in it, and Eli Rips, and
Eliyahu Rips was a rabbi that basically worked on this with Michael Drosnin. Michael Drosnin was a reporter, guys, by the way. He was a reporter, and he was just putting all this stuff together. Eliyahu Rips was a rabbi, who I believe his name was found in the Bible, too, as far as
absolutely.
discovering that. Eliyahu
Yep,
Rips.
it certainly was.
So anyway,
Yep.
what do we do? What are we doing here? What's going on?
Okay, so let me click through this really quickly. So what's interesting about these words and phrases you're seeing here on the screen is some of them read one direction and they'll say something completely different in the other direction. Okay.
Gotcha. There's a word for that. I can't recall what it is. Is it a
So let's,
homonym? It might be a homonym. No, I don't know. Anyway, so going down.
Yep.
Okay,
So
go
yeah,
on.
reading down, that's the way this portion reads. So it reads down.
Right.
It translates to the firstborn father came. And when you literally take the same portion and read it the other direction, or put the letters into, that's basically what I do, is in Google Translate. I found another website called Do It in Hebrew that has a really good translator that I've been using here lately.
Mm-hmm.
So putting it in the other direction, it literally says, he came here, which is all because it fits right in line with what it's saying forwards. The firstborn father came. He came where? He came here.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Then it goes on right here. And this is the part that Michael Drosnin found. So how did he get here? Apparently in a vehicle. Now, as you can see here, this portion reads the same way. It's containing the portion that says in a vehicle, but there's 3 letters in front of it. Do you want to say what those letters are?
Aleph, it's a nun, and what is it? Anod?
Read it from the bottom going up. So if you were to say,
so it would be, it's hard for me to do it without, so guys, vowels in Hebrew are like a set of dots and plus signs and numbers that are under the letter. There's no, like, it's not like the English language where the vowels are actually letters. When you have vowels, they put it under there. People who really know how to read Hebrew expertly don't need the vowels. I still need the vowels, but I would say this says Donna or something of that effect. Donna.
close. It's D N
Right.
A.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize that. What?
It's DNA in a vehicle.
I didn't, I'm looking for the word. I didn't think of just saying the letters. I did say it was D-N. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, let's continue on. So the next portion is down here, and it's reading from the bottom up. Now, this one blew my freaking mind. It states the DNA fragment. Now, the exact same letters, reading in the exact same direction, but I want to show you something. What's the difference between these two? There's a space.
You separated the Dalet and the Nun.
Correct. You know what that translates to?
That's still DNA.
The Hebrew Bible. So literally the DNA fragment, by literally adding a space, becomes the Hebrew Bible.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. Now, as we continue, this portion right here translates to he is a foreigner. Okay, so what is a foreigner? They from someplace else. Now, here's what's interesting. Below it, it's going to say, and we are not. he is a foreigner and we are not. Suggesting he's the firstborn father, so he was born someplace else, which would make him a foreigner. We were born here, so we are not a foreigner.
Wow. This is incredible because then my mind starts running and I start thinking of like the Book of Enoch and everything they're talking about. Holy
Absolutely.
Lord. Okay, so go on.
Okay. So this next portion right here, it's going to state the light of light. Okay. I thought that was weird. Okay. But it expands and going the other direction, it says, we saw that there were two. So in the light of light, we saw that there were not one, but two. Now, who were the two? Well, the first one is right up here. It's reading this direction.
Yod Hey Vav Hey Yahweh.
Yep, exactly. Yahweh. Now, coming directly off of his name, reading down, I believe it's downwards. We'll see here in just a second. It says, his name was with his people. Okay. So we, in the light of light, we saw that there were two. First one was Yahweh, whose name was with his people. Who was the second one? Their name appears right here, reading in the same direction.
Asherah.
Exactly. Okay. Now, who was she? We're going to find out. She was Mother in the Day. Mother in the Day. Now, Mother in the Day, where? In Israel. It's right next to Mother in the Day. Now, this is going to get interesting here as well. So it continues.
Right.
And it says, pay attention to the meaning. Okay? Pay attention to the meaning.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of... This is how far by how far a matrix in this particular one?
I'll have to show you in the next slide. I have the equidistant letter sequencing all out because
right,
it plays.
Basically, you were saying the last one was 11 by 11. How far is this one?
Yeah. Again, I can't remember the numbers. Okay, I'll have to look when I get to the next screen.
That's fine. Sorry about that. Go on.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so Mother in the Day in Israel, and then it's telling us to pay attention to the meaning. And this next phrase again really blew my mind because it says, after all, you have been identified in the Bible. Now, this next portion.
So, guys, when I tell you that my astrotheology is but 1 out of 10 holy sciences, this one is called Gematria and has some numerology to it too. Garrick is the best at who I know that can do this. And I'm showing you that the Bible is not just an astrology book, though it is the oldest and the most prevalent science. I'm going to show you just how deep this goes. I'm going to start showing you other sciences on this channel. I've got people that are going to start coming on and just experts in their field, people who put in their how long have you been doing this, Garrick?
Just a couple of years. I mean, since 2021. I mean, ever since, you know, those thoughts started coming to me and I started diving into this, and it's been I think in December, I took a month break because I just needed it. I didn't do a video. I didn't do anything. I literally needed a break, and it was well-deserved and well-needed.
Yeah.
Because when I came back from that break, all hell broke loose again.
Yeah. All right. So, go on. What else do you have for us?
Okay, so when I was showing this to my brother, I was like, I said, how is it possible that I'm finding all of this and all that Michael Drosnin found was DNA in a vehicle?
Because he was using a 30-year-old computer.
Exactly. And my brother, my brother said, well, maybe he wasn't meant to find it. Maybe he was meant to find that small portion. And all these years later, you were meant to come in and
Well,
find the
you
rest of
usually
it.
find that, like in basketball, for example. Who's created basketball? It was James Naismith, right? He created it in 1892. And he was the head coach of Kansas basketball team. Do you know to this day, he is the only losing head coach from Kansas University? Everybody else has a winning record. Okay, so just because you discover something and you pioneer it doesn't mean that you're not going to wake other people up and they're going to soar to the heavens with it. So remember that, guys, when you start getting into this kind of stuff that I try to show you. Okay, I want you to end up teaching us. I want to bring you on the channel and you show us what you've done.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it is. Just because you discovered something doesn't make you the expert at it. All you've done is shone a light on it.
And that's right. That's absolutely right. And I can only hope that when I'm gone, people can expand on this work even more. But I did say to my brother, I said, that's the case. I mean, I said, it's almost like I was guided. And right after I said that, I hung up the phone, I went back, and all of a sudden, I find this phrase, I will guide you. And I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding. Like, seriously? I mean, seriously, come on. And then of all things, almost as if it were a signature, and I still am not entirely sure how the translation is coming out to be this way, but it is. I found this portion right here. And for whatever reason, which I don't know. Oh crap. Did I stop sharing?
No, you're still there.
Okay. I think I closed my thing by mistake. Okay, good.
You're back on. You're back on.
Okay. So you can see the screen now?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a little pop-up note here that's covering this portion, so I can't see it, but it translates to 11.11. And I can't explain it. It's almost like a signature that was left behind. In the middle of all of this, 11.11. Now, just to prove that I'm not making that up, I want to copy this text here and just go to Google Translate real quick. Paste it in, 11.11. Now, for someone who was seeing 11.11 all over the place, what are the chances of that showing up in this code?
Wow, man.
Now, it looks like Raphael, I don't know how you say his last name.
Raphael Pataya.
Yeah. So he was the first historian to mention that the ancient Israelites worshipped both Yah and Asherah. Now, what's interesting about this matrix is the odds of this matrix appearing in the Hebrew Bible are 1 in 4.0518357578028 times 10 to the 92nd power.
Wow.
Every search term presented has an ELS, equidistant letter skip, of 454, with the exception of 2 words, Yahweh and Asherah. 452 for Yahweh, 906 for Asherah. Now, looking at the Gematria part of this, or Gematria, I always say it, Gematria, people say it different ways. But these phrases, becomes the Lord, the perfected man, God-coded person, older than time, and the God particle all have a value of 452. The Alpha and the Omega, the chosen one, Lord of Lords, solar blast. The Lord is come, and calculate a Bible code has the value of 454. The beautiful goddess, and interesting that it says pay attention. Remember back up here, it said pay attention to the meaning.
Right.
And pay attention has the value of 906. That was the equidistant letter skip for Asherah. What's even more interesting is 452 plus 454 is 906.
Right.
And then of course 906.
So people know. Go back to that slide real quick.
Sure.
So I know how it kind of works, but where do you, when you're looking for words that translate to 452, where do you go?
There's a couple of websites. There's Gematrix.org.
I've heard of Gematrix. That's like the most famous one.
Yeah, and there's Gematrianator is another one. So basically with Gematrix.org, you can plug in a number. So that's what I did, 452, and then go through this list of phrases that other people have found in the past. And so I picked out just the ones that seem closely be related to this. Now, you will get some crazy shit coming through. Like you might actually get a phrase that comes through that says something like, George Clooney likes bologna sandwiches. And it would have the same value of 452. Okay. It's unrelated. But that is possible. You can find phrase stuff like that. But I'm looking for the ones that seem to closely fit and relate to everything else that's involved in this.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to get that out to people. So people are like, where are you getting these words from?
Yeah. So, and then with these 452 and 454 equaling 906, I added 906 and 906 together, which you get 1812. And these phrases have the value of 1812. Discovery of information, which is exactly what this is. Trust the universe. 11, a heaven dimension. And then literally the question, are the infinite simulations of reality? That question has the value of 1812 or 1812. And the biggest one of all, God warned you, decode.
You know, it's interesting because I think of string theory, because for string theory to exist, the mathematics show that there has to be 11 dimensions.
Yep. I mean, these connections, these are the type of connections when you said earlier that, people are going to look at this and say, oh, you're just randomly piecing shit together. No, I'm not. It's all connecting.
I'm so interested in the fact that everything is just so sandwich fucked right next to each other. That's the part that you guys really should pick up out of this, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just absolutely bananas. Wow. Okay. So this is what you've been up to. What else you got?
Okay. This next one. So, like I said, I took a break in December and just needed to clear my mind. Like I didn't end with this code. Watched old movies that, even TV shows that I've been missing out on because I've been so focused on this. Totally took a break. When I came back, completely refreshed. Like I said, all hell just broke loose. So, again, one of those crazy thoughts popped in my head. And I could not shake this feeling that the 1111 matrix code and the Bible code were more closely tied to one another than would be obvious on the surface level, okay?
Right.
And this thought came to me that to literally try this experiment. So as I mentioned earlier, these numbers that you're seeing over here in the yellow, these are just a small portion of the numbers that are generated by the 1111 matrix code.
Right.
And as I mentioned, the first number is 371074. And as I mentioned, you take the last 4, 1074, you add 37 to it, you have 1111. The next number is 741037. You take the last four, 1037, add 74, you have 11. The third one is 1000. You add 111 to 1000, you have 1111. It just keeps going.
Right.
As the numbers get bigger, like I said, I took this all the way up to 100 billion. As the number grows, you take the last four, the next four, the next four, and whatever's remaining, add all those up, it'll come back to 1111 every single time. So the idea, the thought that came into my mind was to take the numbers and split them to where they become two separate numbers that we know are going to equal 1111. By doing this, I made the split in the Bible code matrix. And this is the program I was talking about earlier. It's called Keys to the Bible.
Right.
I made the width the same width as the first number, 1074. Okay. So if I was to scroll over, and you probably won't be able to see this on your screen because it's so tiny. And unfortunately, this is Windows program that I'm using within the Mac. So I'm using another program to actually run Windows within the Mac.
Right.
But this right here is 1074. That's the width.
Right.
So if you're literally looking at the Bible itself. Okay. So scrolling all the way back to the very beginning, this is the beginning of the Bible. This is the beginning of Genesis. It says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth.
Yeah, it's the first line of the Bible. Is the top left, top right.
Correct. So with that in mind, I made the width 1074. And then I went over 11 and down 11 and selected the first letter.
Uh-huh.
Then I made the width 37. Okay, because that's the next number. So we'll come up here. We'll change the width to 37. This is what it looks like. I did the same thing. I came over 11, down 11, and this is the next letter.
Uh-huh.
I continued this process all the way down. Okay, I didn't go through every number because it gets to a point where it literally stops. The message appears to stop. The reason it does that is because when you get to this number here, so we have the last four, which is 1084. The next four would be 0026. Obviously, 00 in front of the number doesn't calculate, so it just becomes 26. And then the remaining number is 1. I can't make the width 1 because then all the letters would be run in a vertical line, straight up and down.
Right.
And every third letter would become bet, the third letter, or not the third letter, but the second letter.
Second letter. Bet is the second letter.
Yeah, but every third letter, when you're doing what I'm going to show you here, every third letter would become this letter.
Right.
So
you have parameters at least.
Yes. So I was looking at the columns that were being generated. Now I got to a point. Now this is interesting. One thing to point out here is if you notice these numbers here on the right, they're all going down by the number 37. So 1074, right. Next one's 1037. It went down by the number 37. All the numbers on the other side are going up by 37.
Right.
37 plays heavily into this whole 1111 matrix code. It's when I got to this number here where I made the width 370, something remarkable happened. Still to this day, can't figure it out. All of the letters that I selected lined up in a perfect row. In fact, 2 perfect rows.
Wow.
Can't explain it. So I began looking at these. Okay, well, how do I begin to translate this? You know, am I to read it downwards? Am I to read it from the bottom up? Well, as I started looking at this, something else strangely happened. Now, at the beginning of this, look at I don't know. Hopefully you can see this as clearly as I'm wanting you to see it. But if you look at this right here,
Yeah, it's a Dalet.
it has become this letter here. This letter here is selected, but it wasn't selected at the when I came to 370. It got selected later. So this letter right up here, this one was selected at the time. It was this one. Maybe if I move this down, you can see what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
So we have 2 columns in my spreadsheet and 2 columns in the Bible code matrix, but they're swapped. Okay. So this letter, which is in the left column, is now the first letter in the right column. The second letter in the left column is now the second letter of the right column. Going down.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this column is that it's the same as this column here, but it's reading from the bottom up.
Jesus Christ.
So we have what looks, I can't remember what this letter is called. It looks like a backwards C. It's the first one here, and then we have Aleph.
That's a Kaf.
Is Kaf. Okay. So yeah, it's the exact same column, but it's reading from the bottom up. So I started thinking, okay, is it telling me that that's how I need to read this? Because this column here on the right in my spreadsheet, the numbers are going down by 37. So I took that to mean that I need to take this column and read it downwards. And because this column over here is going up by 37, I need to read this one going up.
Makes sense, right?
Okay.
I mean, none of this makes sense, but yeah, you're right.
Well, something interesting happened. Let me scroll over here. So this is the, which one is this? Let me look here. Yeah, this one would be this column here.
Okay.
Whoops. Hang on. Losing track here. Okay. So as I was putting it in, I had it all as one string of text. And let me copy this. Oh, come on. And I'm going to go to that Do It in Hebrew website. Just because I feel like it gives me more of an accurate translation than Google.
Of course.
So when I pasted this in, I didn't have it separated out like you saw it on the screen. I literally had it written out like Word.
A long string,
Or,
right.
You know, reading vertically, or not vertical, but horizontal. Whoops. Like this. And I hit translate. And this made absolutely no sense. The rosary isn't ya, ha, ha, Ashwa, Shatak.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's okay, that's nothing.
Yeah, it means nothing. But as I was looking at the letters, I noticed something straight away. We have, I think it's called Yod and Aleph. Yod. Okay, Yod and Aleph.
Aleph, right. I mean, well, I guess Aleph, those would technically be vowels, but yeah.
Okay. So, but Aleph has the value of, it's what? It's the first letter of the alphabet, correct?
Correct. So it's 1.
It's 1. And Yud is,
what is Yud, 10?
The 10th letter.
Yeah, yeah, it's 10.
So what is 10 and 1?
11.
And we have 2 of them right here, correct?
11, right.
Okay. So watch this. I could type, I swear to God. It says the string is missing 1111 and the salvation that you have. And I thought to myself, what the hell? The string is missing 1111. Like, what did that mean? And then the other portion, that other column, I took all the letters, and before I even began to space them out, it says this. Calibrate it at, well, this, it's giving me a this is weird. It will do multiple translations here. So let me hit this multiple times and see if it'll give me the one that I had.
Just tell us what it said, because it's fine.
Yeah, here it is. It should be calibrated as it is read. It should be calibrated as it is read. That's how I translate it before adding any spaces between the letters. And I was like, what does that mean? And I began piecing it together. So it's telling me the string is missing 1111. Well, what brings all of these numbers back to 1111? You're adding one on the right to the one on the left. You're reading it just like Hebrew.
Right.
So this string and this string is missing 1111 because you need to combine them. So,
oh my God, so you have to go from right, left, right, left, right, left as you go down.
Absolutely. You're calibrating this message every single time. What does calibrate mean? It means to readjust every single time.
Right.
So I began to put all of this together. You're looking at all of the translation over here in Hebrew.
Now, I have a question for you real quick, though.
Sure.
You know how on the left column it goes from the bottom up?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do it both ways?
I did. And the other direction is just like gobbledygook. I couldn't get it to like say anything that made any sense at all.
Okay. I was just wondering if you did. Go on.
Yeah. And what I find to be most interesting is that it seemed to be giving me a set of instructions. It's telling me that the string is missing the 1111. You have to read it in this way. It has to be calibrated as it is read. I was like, this literally cannot be happening, but it is. So I have the translation and I have some notes here about what this could mean. So the entire translation, so I'm going to read it straight through. It says, this is a new approach, and that as it should be, a new version of the book will be released. As my sons and daughters, I will save you. At the same time, I will be with you in the future. It will be clear that you will be able to see how the sun is shining, and the sun is shining. When the light shines in the light of my creation, a sign will be thrown here carrying a flame, and it will rise to its glory. And I am coming to the end of my life, and I am looking forward to seeing you again. This is why the children of God are living in the land of the Father. From the words of the Lord, they came from the fire to the truth of the sea. Now, just the simple fact that it says anything at all is astonishing, because I was not expecting all of this.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, something else that's interesting is the very first sentence has multiple it has two translations. Whoops. The first one is the one that I just read to you. This is a new approach, and that as it should be, a new version of the book will be released. And the other one is, this approach is based on the fact that the new AI has been issued to you. Now, one can pause this video and examine this text. I have not changed it. The formatting is slightly different because that's how the website formatted it when it did the translation. But every word is exactly spelled out the same. There's no additional spaces added. but it gives you two different, the translation can be read two different ways.
Holy shit, dude.
Now, with that in mind, I have no way, I'm completely forthright.
Just to let everybody know, you have zero experience reading Hebrew or any Jewish background at all.
Yeah, I have zero. It would be impossible for me to make this up because I'm just now starting to learn the letter names.
Right.
You know, and I think I can say the first maybe four and it stops there. So I began kind of just trying to think, what is this thing? What does it mean? And especially with that new translation that, you know, there's, okay, so we have a new version of the book. Is it referring to the Bible? Don't know. But then it's talking about a new AI. So I just put these notes together, just some thoughts. And so
I did see it, by the way. It's an Alpha Yud. That's A and I. I did see that before.
Yeah. So in my notes, I just said that possibly a new version of the book could be referring to a new version of the code that makes up the simulation that we are in, the AI. So it could be version 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Where it states, as my sons and daughters, I will save you, this could be referring to the idea that we are a byproduct of that code. And just
could it be possible that this AI code could be an upgrade in DNA?
It could be as well. Could be. But just as an example, like we're a byproduct of the code, you know, if you take 1 + 2, you get 3. So in this equation, the number 3 is a byproduct or the son or daughter of 1 + 2. And it's removing the coding language and just stating it in a manner in which we can better understand. Now, the latter portion, I will save you, might suggest that the code which makes up our genetics will be saved, reused, re-encoded, and re-entered into the matrix that makes up the simulation that we are in, which then directly ties into the next line, which it states, at the same time, I will be with you in the future, suggesting that the mainframe code will already be in place and will be discoverable in this new reality, this new future, just as this code is now. It goes on to say that it will be clear that you will be able to see how the sun is shining, and the sun is shining. By stating that we will be able to see how the sun is shining, could this be referencing that we will become aware of this code again? The code that is clearly stated in the surface level text of the Bible, the Jesus code, the code that you teach, talking about the sun/SONSUN, and not only how, but why. When it goes on to say that when the light shines in the light of my creation, a sign will be thrown here carrying a flame, and it will rise to its glory. This appears to be directly talking about the reset that I've been talking about through this entire thing, through means of a solar flare event. A sign will be thrown here carrying a flame sound just like a solar flare. And that it will rise to its glory suggests that it will be all-consuming, at least to what remains on the surface of the planet. When it states that I am coming to the end of my life and I am looking forward to seeing you again, this seems to be referring to the reset, stating that this program, this time frame, this age, this artificial intelligence is coming to an end, and it's looking forward to all things returning to the source. This is why the children of God are living in the land of the Father. Could this mean that some will survive this cataclysm? That they will survive in the land, i.e., underground or possibly under the sea? For the next portion reads, from the words of the Lord, they came from the fire to the truth of the sea. Could this mean that these survivors have heeded the warning that is being revealed through this code and escaped from the fire? So they came from the fire, they escaped to the safety of the sea, the truth of the sea? I don't know. I'm just saying this is my way of looking at what this could possibly mean. I have no way of knowing.
Right. And that's important, right? Because you're finding stuff, but you're not like creating a religion, though I think you could. The Church of Garrick, I think you could with this. Holy shit, dude. I haven't had my mind blown like this in a while. You're doing what's called syncretism, where you're taking a bunch of different sciences and you're melding them together. And you didn't ask for this. You didn't like consciously start studying everything about astrotheology until you got to the point where you understood enough to start doing your own work on it. You kind of were dragged into this kicking and screaming.
Essentially. I mean, those numbers, 333 and 1111, like I said, they were presented to me in such a way that now looking back at it, they were being hammered into my head so that I would not forget them.
Right.
Now, wow. One important thing is with the number 333, when I said it stopped in November, I remember the exact day it stopped because I had a dream that my father came to visit me. My father passed away 2 years prior to this. And in my dream, he was coming out of the closet in my room. And I was in bed in my dream, just as I was in bed asleep. And I'm sitting up looking at him. And I just simply say to him, "What are you doing here?" Because I just couldn't believe he was even there. And as soon as I said it, I woke up. Now, that next day, or the next night, I go to bed. I slept through the entire night. And actually, that night that I had that dream, when I woke up from that dream, it was 7:15 in the morning. So I did not wake up at 3:33 that night either. That's the night it actually stopped.
Wow.
Now, this message is not complete because what you're looking at here, these letters, this sequence here is what I'm calling the surface level message. Because this is me simply going through, changing the equidistant letter sequence, applying each letter by going over 11 and down 11. As I mentioned, when I get to 370, those columns line up. When that happens, they're in an entirely different sequence.
Right.
The same thing happens at 740. So let me come over here, change this to 740.
Do we have enough right now to do another episode, or are you almost done?
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Okay.
Almost done. So at 740, we get 2 new columns, but as you can see, they stop right down here.
Right.
Although they don't technically stop. If you scroll over, we have a line here. And we have more columns appearing here. And another column appearing down here. And if I scroll back, whoops, you see we have one in the middle doing the exact same thing. And it goes down a very long ways. And the same thing over here. And it's actually, it skips a letter right here on its own.
Right.
So what I'm currently doing now is taking these inner portions, the skips of 370 and 740, and now starting to decode this.
And that's where you are right now?
That's where I'm at right now. I'm not at a point to reveal what it says because I want to finish the message, because each time you start applying new letters, it can change what it says even further above. So I wanted to make sure I'm through this entire thing. But the point is, the message is continuing.
Yes. Wow, that is, dude. Like I said, guys, I only teach one science. Maybe you all are new to it. Maybe it opens up a new light to it. But this is Gematria. This is numerology. This is equidistant pattern finding in the Bible that is there. This is overwhelming. I don't know what it all means, but it's,
I don't either.
when I tell you guys the Bible is more information than you can know in a lifetime, I'm not lying to you.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, here's what's interesting. When I go back to the very first skip, 1074, you can see how every letter that's in red, they're just randomly all over the place. There's no
Right.
rhyme or reason to sequence.
Right.
It's only when we get to the number 370. Okay. So look, just think of that number 370. What do we have there? 37.
37. Right.
It happens again at 74. What is 74? It's 37 plus 37.
Right.
And the fact that on those two numbers, all of these letters that are randomly spaced all over the screen suddenly line up in a straight line.
This is
I
incredible.
have no idea how that is possible.
I gotta have you back on in a couple months. We gotta stay in touch. I have to send you my 8th book, so you're gonna text me your address again, okay?
Yes, yes, absolutely. 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 Yeah, because I'm just stoked to see where this message is going to go, what it's going to continue to say. And it's weird. I mean, it's almost like we're looking at something that's encrypted and it's something new that is also
Right.
encrypted.
Right.
And I'm,
Let
and
me
all
ask
this
you
was
one
kind of,
question about everything. So, of the 5 episodes we've done and all the information that you've, from the beginning till now, you've taken me on your adventure, and I love every minute of it. I absolutely adore it. But let me ask you a question.
sure.
Percentage-wise, 50-50 being even, how many messages are benevolent and how many are malevolent?
Um, I don't know. When you say messages, what are you referring to?
When you decode the Hebrew.
Oh, decode the Hebrew. So, I mean, it's so weird when you're going through and you know, like I said, when I put this into the translator, I have to put it all in just one sequence with no skips because I'm just putting in the letters in as I find them on the screen, and it's literally sitting there just, and it's a tedious, tedious freaking process of
Well,
going
you
through.
don't even know how to read Hebrew. Like, how you're breaking these apart to translate is blowing my mind.
I mean, it's trial and error. It literally is. But simply I mean, it's literally doing that process and until it starts to make sense, until it starts to become a structured sentence.
I think one of these days I'm going to have to do a private Zoom with you or a private StreamYard, and I'm going to have to just teach you the Hebrew alphabet. I think you have to know it at this point.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I do.
I
I
think one of these
literally,
days we'll make some time and I'll just go through the letters and you could just have a notepad and we'll just go through it.
yeah. Yeah. Because even when I'm doing my own presentations on my own channel, you know, I'll sit there and go, this letter here. And if I don't know what it is, I simply don't say it. But if I know the name, like, you know, Aleph or Bet or something like that, I will say it. But
Right.
too often I'm sitting there going, this letter here and this letter
Which, by the
here.
way, Garrick, so can you plug your stuff? Tell people where they could. First of all, you guys can see all of this in my interviews playlist. Just go all the scroll. I think it starts from, yeah. So the oldest is at the top of the playlist for some reason in my YouTube, and my newest shit is at the bottom. So Garrick and me have been doing the 1111 Matrix code for what, 2 years now?
It's been a while. It's
It's
been
been
a
a
while.
while. It's been a while. If you want to catch up on that, or I'm telling you, plug your stuff. Where are you on social? Where's your YouTube?
Okay, so my YouTube channel is the 1111 Matrix Code. Pretty easy to find. There's now 42 videos on there. And then if you want to reach out and contact me, you can do so through Instagram. I have 2 different Instagrams. The first one is 1111 underscore matrix underscore code. And my other Instagram is where I do a lot of ITC work. That's my other passion, is paranormal communication with spirits. And that one is I.T.C. underscore photography.
Beautiful. Garrick, man, you always bring it, dude. Like you have to trust yourself, right? When you present to people, like when you have a channel or when you're putting yourself out there for other people to judge you in your work, right? You have to trust that what you're sharing with people not only makes sense to you, makes sense to other people. Otherwise, they're going to lambast you and they're going to run you off the internet, right?
Right.
But I think that my stuff is pretty convincing. But god damn, dude, you take this to a whole new level.
I mean, I was utterly surprised to that. I mean, again, I don't know where these thoughts come from. You know, that it's almost like an instruction. It's driving
there's a
me.
reason they call the Bible the living word, right?
Exactly. The living
people
word.
don't realize, but this is a living, breathing document.
Exactly.
Unfreaking real. Garrick,
and
man, thank you.
Always changing as well.
Yes. Garrick, man, thank you for coming on. I'll email you this file as soon as it's done downloading. I'm going to put it up tonight. Dude,
Cool.
you have blown my mind tonight. I hope everybody that's watching this, subscribe to Garrick, get into his work, watch the videos on my channel, watch the video on his channel, share this. I prepped you early when I was like, tell your backstory, but I have to remember that I don't even need to do that because your work just talks for itself.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Garrick, man, thank you. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.